Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Texas Podcast. I am your host, Gabe, and today we'll be talking about the Texas Navy. The Texas Navy, officially the Navy of the Republic of Texas, also known as the Second Texas Navy, was the naval warfare branch of the Texas military forces during the Republic of Texas. It descended from the Texian Navy, which was established in November 1835 to fight for independence from the Centralist Republic of Mexico in the Texas Revolution. The Texas Navy, Texas Army, and Texas Militia were officially established on September 5, 1836, in Article 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Texas. The Texas Navy and Texas Army were merged with the United States Armed Forces on February 19, 1846, after the Republic of Texas became the 28th state of the United States. The Texas Navy, or the Second Texas Navy, was active from the 23rd of March, 1839 through the 19th of February, 1846. Its country which it fought for was the Republic of Texas, and its allegiance was to the Constitution of the Republic of Texas. Its type was a navy, and its role was the naval warfare and logistics. Its size was 4 schooners, 3 brigs, 1 steamship, and 1 sloop of war. It was part of the Texas Military Department, or the Texas Military Forces. Its colors were red, white, and blue, and its vessels were the Potomac, Zavala, the San Jacinto, the San Antonio, the San Bernard, Wharton, Austin, Archer, and the Louisville. Its most notable engagements was in the Yucatan Campaign at the Battle of Campeche. Its most notable commanders were Edwin Ward Moore, Charles Edward Hawkins, A.C. Hinton, J.T.K. Lothrop, W.R. Postel, J.O. O'Shaughnessy, Alexander Moore, William Seeger, W.S. Williamson, T.A. Taylor, D.H. Crisp, George Wheelwright, and J. Clark. The Texas Navy descended from the Texian Navy, which was established by the Constitution of the Republic of Texas on the 25th of November, 1835 to aid the fight for independence from the Centralist Republic of Mexico in the Texas Revolution. It consisted of 4 schooners: Liberty, Independence, Invincible, and Brutus. Liberty was sold in June 1836, Independence was captured during the Battle of the Brazos River in April 1837, Invincible and Brutus were run aground at the Battle of Galveston Harbor in August 1837. In October 1836, the Congress of the Republic of Texas passed an appropriation bill for $134,000 to expand the then Texian Navy with 4 additional ships. The bill was signed by President Sam Houston, but no action was taken. Following the losses of Invincible and Brutus at the Battle of Galveston Harbor, another bill was passed on the 4th of November 1837 of $280,000 for 6 ships. Samuel M. Williams was appointed Commissioner of their development and awarded the contract to Frederick Dawson of Baltimore in November 1838. Williams also acquired the steam packet Charleston that November. It was renamed Zavala in honor of Lorenzo de Zavala, fitted out and recommissioned on the 23rd of March 1839, officially establishing the Texas Navy. The Texas Navy was commanded by Commodore Edwin Moore, a lieutenant from the United States Navy. For 3 years, the Texas Navy raided the Mexican coast and kept the Mexican fleet focused on defending its own coastline. In the naval battle of Campeche on the 16th of May 1843, the Texas Navy sloop of war Austin and the brig Wharton, supported by ships from the rebellious Mexican state of the Yucatan, which was then the Republic of the Yucatan, engaged Mexican naval vessels, including the steamships Montezuma and Guadalupe. This battle is believed to be unique, marking the only occasion in which a sailing warship engaged and fought a steam-powered ship to a draw. The battle, which raged over several days, was a tactical draw, but a strategic victory for the Texas Navy, which forced the Mexicans to lift their blockade on Campeche and assured security in the meantime for the rebels in the Yucatan. Other ships of the Texas Navy at the time included the brigs Potomac and Archer, the schooners San Jacinto and San Antonio, and the San Bernard, and the Zavala, and the first steamship of war in North America. When Texas joined the United States in 1846, the Texas Navy was merged into the United States Navy. The Texas Marines, officially the Marine Corps of the Republic of Texas, were the naval infantry of the Texas Navy, tasked with enforcing discipline aboard ships, providing security at shore stations, sharpshooting, and naval boarding. It was officially established on the 14th of January 1836 and modeled after the United States Marine Corps. Land promised in advance of military service is called a bounty, which is a military tradition dating back beyond the Roman Empire, and is a well-established tradition in American military history prior to hostilities in Texas during the Revolution. The founders of the Republic of Texas attempted to bolster recruitment into the armed forces through this generous indictment of land for military service. The policy in Texas was inconsistent, as not all Texas veterans were treated equally. Veterans of the Texas Navy, due to political rivalries, were excluded from taking part in the land-granting policies or unnecessary extravagance, as it was explained by President Sam Houston at the time of his veto. Texas passed its first Bounty Act on the 24th of November, 1835, when the General Council created a regular army and promised those who'd serve in it for 2 years 640 acres of land. After the Revolution, the Texas government distributed the public lands especially to veterans. In all, 9.8 million acres was granted to veterans of the Texas Army or to the Confederate soldiers in Texas. Not one of those nearly 10 million acres was granted for naval service. Despite the importance of naval actions in the Gulf during the Revolution, the fact remains that Texas could not have won her independence and maintained it as she did without the Navy. It has been said that if the United States was Texas's biological parent, then shipping lanes from New Orleans were the umbilical cord that kept the rebellion alive during its embryonic months. Historians point out that the Texas Navy was one vital importance to the war effort, with approximately 3/4 of all troops, supplies, and cash originating from the ports of New Orleans. It was seen as nearly impossible for the commerce to go through any other channels into Texas other than by ship due to the impractical nature of crossing Louisiana swamplands and the big thicket of East Texas. Navy vessels protected against marauding Mexican warships looking to cut the cord that flowed to Texas through Galveston, keeping the fledgling war effort, and eventually the Republic, alive. Additionally, military leaders knew the importance of the Texas coast to winning a revolution or quashing a rebellion. In fact, Mexican General Vicente Fasola remarked, "The posts of Texas are not sustainable, whilst a maritime force does not cooperate with the operation to the land service." On the other side, Commander James Fannin, in an August 1835 letter, wrote that the provisions were scarce for the Mexican army on dry land. He requested naval assistance to the army, asking, "Where is your navy?" He pointed out that if Texas ships could block access to ports, they, the Mexicans, are ruined. Despite the importance of the Texas Navy to the Texas Revolution, politics got in the way of rewarding Navy veterans with bounty land grants from President Sam Houston against legislative report denied land grants to Navy veterans in 1842. The battle for bounty lands was a practical struggle that culminated 6 years later after the Revolution, but had the roots that stretched back to 1835. Naval policy was another in the long line of differing views between Sam Houston and Mirabeau Lamar. Lamar preferred an aggressive naval policy that encouraged raids around the Gulf of Mexico to intimidate the enemy. Houston, on the other hand, preferred a more acquiescent naval policy that encouraged ships to stay close to shore, protecting ports for industry and commerce. These disagreements led to inconsistent policies during the Republic era, as Lamar and Houston traded the presidency back and forth. Robert Potter, senator and the one-time Secretary of the Navy, and Senator James Webb proposed a resolution that would allow bounty land to be granted to Navy veterans on the 4th of November, 1841. It was noted in the 18th of November, 1841 edition of the San Augustine Redlander that this resolution would meet with much opposition in both houses and a warm discussion is expected. After the resolution was passed, it was presented to President Sam Houston, who vetoed the bill on the 6th of January, 1842. In Houston's veto message, the president paid tribute to the exalted gallantry and distinguished bravery of the men who went to sea on behalf of the Republic, but he would not sanction injudicious and unnecessary extravagance on their behalf. Houston went on to say, "Generally, the seamen have no interest on shore." He explained that a people who made their living at sea would pay no attention to improving land granted to them. He believed that to give a land grant to a Navy veteran would not benefit the country to any degree, explaining that the harpies that are generally found in seaports and to whom seamen usually become indebted are those only who would profit by the bounty and munificence of the government. Houston further explained that it was traditional that the sailor receives his pay and also receives prize money for capturing enemy vessels. The sailor has his bounty and prize money as incentives to enlist and continuance in the service. None expected more. He said, "If moreover a fleet be in the vicinity of a land army, its cooperation is always supposed, and it accordingly participates in the spoils of victory, If, on the other hand, the victory be achieved by the fleet, the reverse is the case. The Naval Corps alone enjoy the entire reward of success. Houston also claimed that the sailors would have claims to either dead or scattered of the winds of heaven. However, Army veterans of their heirs were eligible to receive bounty land whether they lived or died. Houston continued if the bounty land were granted, the few who survived would deem it valueless, because none of them would be willing to penetrate the wilderness in quest of a place to locate it, some hundreds of miles between the frontiers. Rather than make an attempt, they would be willing to sell it for a trifle. Infuriated by the complete disdain that the Navy-hating President of the Republic had shown, Robert Porter reintroduced a joint resolution on the 25th of January 1842 that would hopefully pass over the President's veto, authorizing the Secretary of War and Navy to issue certificates of bounty lands to the officers, seamen, and Marines of the Navy. Despite Porter's reputation as a good steward of the public land and his continuous support of the Navy, his arguments fell upon deaf ears as he continued to push the issue to no success. The issue was tabled as President Houston ran out of the clock on the bounty for Navy Veterans Bill, and the issue would never be broached again. There were multiple other naval forces during Texas's time as a republic and as its time in the CSA and throughout its time with the U.S. The Texas Marine Department was a branch of the Confederate States War Department that operated in Galveston during the American Civil War. It was not a component of the Texas Military Forces, nor did it operate under the Texas Military Department chain of command. It is similar to the United States Army Department of Texas. The 1st Naval Battalion, which in the aftermath of World War II saw 24 Nazi U-boats attack 70 ships in the Battle of the Gulf of Mexico, sinking 56 of them. The Adjutant General of Texas, Major General Kerry Lee Berry, reestablished Texas naval forces to provide well-trained coastal and inland patrols. The initiative was authorized by the Commander-in-Chief of the Texas Military Forces, Governor Buford H. Jester, and the 1st Naval Battalion of the Texas State Guard was officially established on the 31st of October, 1948. Its first and ultimately only vessel was the Sumaria, a 60-foot diesel-powered yacht commanded by Sterling Hogan. The 3rd Texas Navy, which in the midst of the final battle of the Texas Tideland dispute with the United States, the most serious conflict of the century between the states and the federal government, the Commander-in-Chief of Texas Military Forces, Governor Price Daniel, reestablished the Texas Navy in 1958 as an additional effort of inciting public sentiment for Texas naval interest. He declared the memory and heritage of the Texas Navy can be preserved best by citizens who are willing to continue by every lawful means the defense of the rights and boundaries of the states. It is often referred to as the 3rd Texas Navy and was theoretically akin to the United States Merchant Marines. However, it did not fall under the Texas Military Department chain of command, nor have an operational charter. It primarily served as a social and ceremonial club to commemorate the history of the Texan Navy and 2nd Texas Navy. It was headquartered at the Houston Yacht Club and held annual admiral balls where the governor would review the fleet of the San Jacinto Monument. The fleet primarily consisted of civilian vessels from its members, with the USS Texas serving as flagship. Officers were selected on their merits and commissioned by the governor as admirals in the Texas Navy. The Texas Navy Association, although the Tideland dispute was settled on the 1st of June 1960, the 3rd Texas Navy continued to function as a social club. In 1970, its headquarters were relocated to Galveston by Governor Preston Smith. In October 1972, it was redesignated the Texas Navy Association and chartered as a nonprofit organization by Secretary of State Bob Bullock. In 1973, the 63rd Texas Legislature passed SB 94, which established the Texas Navy Association as the official governing body of Texas Navy operations. As of 2019, the Texas Navy Association is still in operation. The Maritime Regiment of the Texas State Guard, also known as the Texas Maritime Regiment and the TMAR, was established by the Commander-in-Chief of the Texas Military Forces, Governor Rick Perry, in 2006. It was the naval militia force of the Texas tasked with providing sea, littoral, and riverine operational support for homeland defense, including civil contingency, security, rescue, and disaster operations in conjunction with the United States Coast Guard, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the Texas Forest Service, and the Lower Colorado River Authority. It operated and maintained a fleet of brown water watercraft. It was replaced by the Special Troops Battalion on January 1, 2020, in its reorganization by the Commanding Major General, General Robert Bowditch, which maintains the same mission set. That is all for the 2nd Texas Navy. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.